offer within certain resources. We discussed the Shannon's relationship that the practical data rate and Shannon's benchmark for R, it's not it's not equal to, it's proportional. When with C, it's equal. So I told you that with the technological advancement, this R is getting closer and closer to C. So CDMA was a big jump for people in terms of this progress. Okay. So and the practical data rate can be much closer to C. Actually, it is not much closer to C, but it is a good jump towards C. Okay. So I'll show you an example after I finish the discussion today that demonstrates how much it is compared to our conventional TDMA, FDMA used in 2G. Okay, you'll see that it will show within the cell capacity, I think more than 5 times. Anyway, so we are explaining, but it's amazing because until it was invented, people had always the idea that multiplexing must use different radio resources or the different timing for the use of the resources. But CDMA uses the same frequencies at all times. What do you mean? See, if 3G UMTS has a fixed bandwidth 5 megahertz, this is for 3GPP. In 3GPP implementation, the original 3G is called UMTS. Is 5 megahertz. For 3GPP2, it's CDMA 2000, but it uses bandwidth 1.25 megahertz. So we're discussing this one. So all users in the cell are using the same 5 megahertz. So in the downlink, the base station is transmitting for all of them using the same 5 megahertz. In the uplink, everybody is using the same 5 megahertz bandwidth. And they are also doing it at all times. Okay? There is no time segmentation either. They all are transmitting together. So, but it is still working. Okay. So it's not limited to what I have just said. Also in the neighboring cells, it's the same 5 megahertz. Let us look at it separately. So within the cell, what we did for 2G case, we used separate radio resources among the users, right? Everybody had some unique 200 kilohertz chunk, considering that we have certain timing. Okay, so nobody else was using the same 200 kilohertz chunk at that time. However, in other cells, we repeated. Why did we have to do that? Because we had some limitation in the availability of resources. But how could we manage the repetition? We could manage because of the distance. The distance offers some path loss, creating some difference in power. And because of the power, although the same radio resources is used there, because of the difference in power, we could separate the transmission from the two sources. Okay. The serving base station and the neighboring base station may be transmitting to you using the same resources, and you're serving one. So, but you can separate the neighboring base station because it comes with lower power. Okay. So this is how it was managed in 2G case. I'm just reminding you. The same kind of application we would have here too, as we're going to explain later. But we, within the same, will take care of things in a particular way, ensuring that everybody gets some unique properties. Okay? They are served with some unique properties. Because within the same cell, we cannot ensure difference in power. People are moving and all are served with the same base station. Someone may be closer now and someone is further, but they may change their position. So power difference cannot be ensured. However, if you think of another cell, then definitely that cell is further. So power difference is already known, and you can exploit this power difference, and maintaining the unique properties can be relaxed. Okay. Why do you have to relax? Again, for the same reason, that you have some limitation in the availability of uniqueness that you want to provide. You cannot allocate unique property to all people in the country. Maybe you can do it within your own cell, but then you need to repeat somehow. The uniqueness cannot be maintained at indefinitely. So CDMA uses this concept, but it will be clear, gradually clear. Please be attentive, because in our countries many people know CDMA, but first of all, they have some misconceptions at some levels. So if you are attentive here, you can get the right concept, inshallah. Secondly, their knowledge can explain how it is taken care of within the same cell, but not how in the other cells. Because I said that even in the other cells, it's not only this is what, see, Banglalink had only 5 megahertz from the government for 3G operation. Gramin and Robi had 10. So Banglalink definitely have the same 5 megahertz used in every cell. In 2G implementation, we saw that the adjacent cells were given different resources. It's the same 5 megahertz. So I first told you that everybody in the same cell, in both downlink and uplink, are using the same 5 megahertz. They're really transmitting power using the whole 5 megahertz bandwidth at all times. And that's not it. The neighboring cell are also using the same 5 megahertz, and they are also transmitting at all times. The things are still working. So it's amazing, but people usually don't know in our country how it is taken care of in other cells. Actually, there is another step of operation, which we'll explain at the end of the class today. Yeah. Multiple access, it's like how you can allow access of multiple users. So it is another way of expression of multiplexing. Resources are multiplexed to support multiple users. So these things we discussed yesterday. Okay. Now, the technique is the use of code. Different people are allocated different codes. And an example code we explain here in sequence, we also explain a property autocorrelation, which means you take the same code. The code has a particular length. Okay? All these PN sequence codes are invented by different researchers, and some codes are very popular. Why popular? Because they offer better correlation properties. Now, what do you mean by correlation properties? Two things: autocorrelation and cross-correlation. Cross-correlation means I mean, these code generations, they give you a set of codes under some particular category. A set of codes are generated, and they are allocated to different people. So just an example we are showing here to explain is autocorrelation, and we say that the same code you then put next to that and do this operation, and then rotate it step by step. By every bit you rotate and check the correlation, and this is a good PN code. Its autocorrelation properties are the best. Okay. I mean, it's the best, it cannot be better. Why is it so? Because say when you align, it is always 1 for any bit sequence. By code I mean a sequence of bits. So it must be 1. But it is a good bit sequence, like Wi-Fi uses Barker code. That's something good. Okay, it's a good invention. So this is good because you, in all other cases, you get the minimum possible value. 3 are getting cancelled. So this is when you do an average, this is the minimum possible value. So when you are receiving a stream of data, if you want to determine where it starts, okay, you put the right code, and you don't know where the starting point. You may be starting from here, and put the code here, and then do operation. You get minimum value. Okay, then try the next one. Okay, I mean keep rotating. As you keep rotating, at one stage you get the correlation peak. So you know that that's where it is starting. Yeah. Yeah, maybe you are receiving bits from somewhere. Okay. So the codes are repeated one after another. You need to first determine where it starts. So what do? You put your known code somewhere randomly, and then do bit by bit checking and get a outcome, which should be, if your code is good, then autocorrelation property is good, which should be very low value. So it is, once it is low, if it is not the correct starting point, then you end up with a low value because it is not properly aligned. So you know that that's not the right starting point. Try the next position. Again, do the operation. Okay, until you have an proper alignment. I mean, when you get a correlation peak, you know that that's starting off your code. Okay, so from there, you know that if the code length is just 7, then every 7 bits are giving. Sorry, give me a second, please. Sorry. আর কিছু লাগলে নিয়ে নাও, আর কোনো কিছু লাগলে ঠিক আছে, থ্যাংক ইউ। Yeah. We will be using some other lengths, of course. I'm coming. This is just an example. This code is not used in Syria, in 3GP, in UMTS. Okay. So I'm just explaining the correlation property here. Now, cross correlation. In this case, you have a different code, but probably of the same length and from the same category. So a particular code generation technique generates a set of codes allocated to different people. So different people will be getting different codes. And cross correlation means when you compare or correlate with a different code. But again, you have to rotate the other code bit step by step, bit by bit. Okay, you take the different code, and to find out their cross correlation properties, you rotate one of them bit by bit. For every bit position, you check this way. Okay, check how the average is for every bit position. Yes. It's not called training sequence, it's just P code. No, this is not the data. This is not the data, it's just a code, it's just a P code. And actually, very shortly things will be clear. Okay, please bear with me. So, in the case of cross correlation, you keep rotating and doing the same operation, and in this case, good cross correlation means that you have the minimum possible value for all positions, for all kind of, okay, it may be again your starting point of the alignment, but whatever it is, you should have minimum value. I mean this is the best, if you can get minimum value for all positions. That's what happens, that if you are you have a code known, and then that is the useful code. So you try with that, and then you get the starting point. But if you are using a wrong code, then you actually get always minimum. So you know that there is no useful position. It is not for you. So when you use a different code, okay, so for cross correlation for all positions, so you try with a different code. So you, for example, in some cases it happens that you don't know which code has been used there. There may be, so it truly happens in a case for EMTs, okay, when the phone first searches and finds out a new cell. So at some stage, it knows that the code used there is one of these 8, but it doesn't know which out of this 8 code. So it keeps correlating. It takes one code, one of these 8, and keeps correlating, like this operation, for every bit position. Okay, but it finds very low value for all positions as it keeps rotating. So it knows that it's not the right code. Try the next one, second, third, maybe at the 4th attempt, as it is going through the different positions, at one stage it gets correlation peak. Then it knows that it is the right code and it is the perfect alignment. That's the starting point of the code sequence. You're getting? So this has been possible because of the good cross correlation properties and also autocorrelation properties. Both have to be good, because when you pick the right one, you get the right alignment because of good autocorrelation. And when you have a wrong code, you come to know that it is the wrong code, it's not the right one, because of good cross correlation properties. So there is actually the PN sequences as actually invented by different people, and some of them are popular, I say. Okay, they generate a set of codes, and the correlation properties have to be good. I mean, the popular codes definitely have good correlation properties. Okay, but in wireless, there are always corruption, like our country. Okay, some bits get in error anyway. You cannot stop it. So what happens? That you are trying, but when even if you have good correlation properties, but some bits have got flipped. So instead of getting this low value, say here, if I flip a bit, then it will not be that low, right? It will be higher. So as you're doing the operation, sometimes you get actually higher values. However, and also when it comes to the proper alignment, you're not getting 1 because some bits have been in error. So it is little lower. So maybe it is 0.8. And here it may be, say, 0.3. But it can still work because of good correlation properties. Now still there is a good difference. You know this is not the right position, and you know this, okay, it is still, can be considered the correlation peak or proper alignment. Okay. However, if this one was already say 0.4, and because of error you get it 0.7, and here it is 0.8, so you're confused. Okay, maybe it can also drop to 0.7. So that is why good correlation properties are better. Okay, sorry? When you have proper alignment with the right code, then you should get 1, but because of error, it may be somewhere close to 1. But that is all we call correlation peak. Cross correlation has no peak. With other codes, okay, I mean we expect that there are no peaks. Yeah, but sometimes because all codes are not equally good. With some codes you may get significant value. Okay. No, when it comes to cross correlation, you don't need the starting point. It's actually you need to know that it is not the right code. Okay, it's not the useful case. Okay, you cannot use it. I mean, it's not your own code. Okay, so it's something that you need to drop. Okay, so you don't need the alignment then. Okay, now when you can maintain perfect correlation, then what happens? You get correlation peak 1, and you get 0 values for all other cases. Okay, and then it is called cross correlation. It was actually would have been 0. It was not 0 just because there were odd number of bits. Okay, there was odd number of bits. Otherwise, it would be also 0. Okay, so when I say 0, if there is odd number, then it is close to 0. Okay, things are like that. Now UMTS use actually some even number of bits in the code. So we'll have 0 value for other cases, okay, in the ideal case. And if it is 0, okay. So you have like 0 and correlation peak. Okay, 0 and correlation peak. So it is then called orthogonal code. So orthogonal codes means for all misalignment with the same code, you have 0, and when you do it with a different code, it is always just 0. So this is perfect. And then these codes, this set of codes are called orthogonal to each other. And this kind of codes are used in UMTS, and these are 2 examples. These codes are 4 bits long. Instead of zeros, we will be writing -1 because that will simplify our explanation. So these 2 codes are orthogonal codes, and there is some invention or suggested method how you can get that codes. By code I mean just bit sequence, how they maintain this orthogonal relationship. Now you see that when you do this type of comparison that I mean these are done either XOR operation or XNOR operations are done actually. Okay, different demonstrations show differently. Okay, so either XOR operation or XNOR operation. That is what we did here. Okay, you can select either XOR or XNOR operation when you do the correlation. Okay, now here when it is the same, we put 1. When it is different, we put -1. And as you see that bit by bit, when you do it, you get 0. This is because these 2 are orthogonal. And you can try after the class. You can try by rotating it by some bits, and then doing the same operation. You still get 0. Okay, the average is 0. Okay. Now, when it is used in a cell, everybody in the same cell is allocated some orthogonal codes. Okay. Like I said that in 2G, there was no repetition. Everybody was given some unique frequency chunks for use at a time. Similarly here, everybody is given within the same cell some orthogonal codes. Okay. So if you get a code here, and in the case of 2G, there is a message called assignment command. Probably I told you before, which has, I'll show you inshallah. I collected some message from on 2D network. Also here 2G still offers. It may be possible to show it live with our tool. Okay, from Gramin network I collected some information there. So you see that when you're setting up a voice call, this assignment command is sent from the base station to the UE, which includes two fields like say ARFCN, TN. Did I mention it before? I didn't. So ARFCN gives a number, maybe say 108, which indicates a unique 200 kilohertz frequency chunk. And times TN can vary from 0 through 7, maybe say you are allocated 3. So I'll show you inshallah that when you set up a voice call in 2G, the network sends you a message called assignment command. This message includes a field ARFCN and a field TN. ARFCN field has a value which indicates a particular, each number, each ARFCN indicates a particular 200 kilohertz chunk. I mean, or every 200 kilohertz chunks in all permissible bands is uniquely identified by a ARFCN. So when the network assigns ARFCN, you know what 200 kilohertz chunk you should use. I mean, for both downlink and uplink, it's a pair. And there is also a field TN, which allocates a particular time slot number from 0 through 7. Okay, there are 8 time slots. So that's it. No, I'm talking about 2G. You know that everybody uses certain 200 kilohertz frequency, right? So ARFCN tells you which 200 kilohertz chunk you should use. And TN, this is the time slot number. TN is the time slot number. It can vary between 0 to 7. So you're given a particular number. So that's the slot when you should transmit or receive. Okay. So when the call is set up, you are allocated certain radio resources, and you should keep using that until you finish the call. Once the call is over, that resources will be allocated to somebody else. Okay? It's no longer for you. You're getting my point. Similarly, on 3G network, when you are setting up a call, there is a message. I think the message is radio bearer setup, which allocates a code. Okay, and you have a particular code. Maybe say this is a code allocated to you, and that code will not be allocated to anybody else within the cell. So then, what do? You have certain information to transmit. So you first multiply your information. I mean, every bit has to multiply it by your code. Okay. So instead of 1, you multiply and then you actually get the same bit sequence. When it is -1, it is flipped. Okay. The whole bit sequence is flipped. And then this one, okay. Okay, so you multiply by your own sequence and then transmit. So instead of these 5 bits, you actually transmit how many bits? How many bits are you transmitting? 20. So this is because the length of the code was, what was the length? What was the length of the code? How many bits did you have in the code? Yeah, this is the sequence, this is the code. This is the code allocated to you. That is kind of this allocation in 2G, where you are allocated particular frequency and time. Here, people are allocated a unique code in the cell. And what is the length of that code? I mean, how many bits did you have here? 4. Okay. And when you are transmitting, the data size increased by a factor. What is that factor? You had only 5, but you have to transmit actually 20 instead of 5. So what is the factor by which you increased? 4, right? So you are spreading your data. You're only 5 bits, but you're spreading before transmission. And the factor of this spreading is nothing but the length of the code. So length of code is equal to spreading factor. So spreading is an operation. Spreading is an operation you're doing first, and this is nothing but the spreading operation before transmission, and that increases the data by a factor. Okay. Then your data has to be recovered at the receiving end. How is it? It's shown here using a wave shape. This is what you are transmitting. So the receiver gets the same thing. Okay. Then at the receiving end, it multiplies by the receiving end has to know the code. So it again uses the known code and then does the same operation. So if it is alike, it is 1. If they are different, you take -1. So you see that originally you had -1, -1, 1, 1. Okay? So this is something you need to recover. And you see that when you do this operation, here you get all 1, and here you get all -1, -1. So if you do an average, it is 1, here is -1, -1. So this is the data that was transmitted. Okay? So you can make actual decision here. Well, it's not -1, it's 1. Because in practice, some bits can get flipped. So it may not be 1, it may not be actually 0.8. It may not be -1, it may be -0.8. But still, you shouldn't be confused, because it is well above 0. It is well below 0. Or they are still well separated. They are still well, they are away from the middle position by a good margin. So you can still make a decision. Why has it been possible? Because of the good quality of your sequence. It is completely orthogonal. Orthogonal means it actually completely zero correlation. Okay, they are mismatch. By correlation we actually mean matching. Okay, zero correlation means zero matching or complete mismatch. Okay, now if somebody else wants to recover your data, okay, maybe say he's talking to someone privately, okay, he wants to, who he may be talking to privately, right? Okay, so, but someone wants to overhear. So, but somebody else has a different code, right? So when someone tries with a different code, what happens? So the same data we are showing here, but I use a different orthogonal code. So again, it's a sequence, but this code is again selected as an orthogonal code. And then you do the operation, and you see that it's 1, 1, minus 1, 1. In every case, you get the average 0, which is the middle of the two decisions, middle of the two extreme points. So you know that it's actually wrong code. It's not the right use. It's not something that should be used. Okay? It's not the useful, manipulation. Okay? So, however, in practice, it can be a little higher or lower than 0. But you still know, you shouldn't be confused that, okay, it's actually, yeah, you have a question? Yes. Sorry? This one. How is the code? Okay, this is just I'm going to discuss shortly how the codes are generated. Because the orthogonal codes, I'm just giving some examples of orthogonal codes, but there is a certain way to get these codes which can maintain orthogonal relationship. There are of course some fixed bit sequence which maintain the orthogonal relationship. Here I'm taking an example of orthogonal code. If I took randomly, just put somewhere something, then I wouldn't get it 0. Okay, once you maintain orthogonal, that's what it's saying, that in the same cell you allocate orthogonal codes to different people. Okay, it has to be like that because power difference you cannot ensure. And the example we used in the last class, that you have different languages used by other people can help you understand. But if it is not fully different, then it can be a little problematic, like Bangla and Hindi. Okay, so those examples will also be useful later today. Now, there will be actually many people. Now we probably can explain that, okay, when the base is transmitting for you, it is only you who can recover your own data and other people cannot, okay, with the wrong code. But how it works out when there are so many users in the cell? Everybody is transmitting, and I said that they all are using the same bandwidth at all times. So all of their data are actually aggregated in the AR. They are all transmitting, so it's a summation. It's a summation of all these signals, right? So how is it taken care of? So let's, to exemplify, we have 3 users here, and this is their data. And these are their, but again, these codes are taken, with orthogonal relationship, not just randomly. These codes are not, bit sequences are not randomly picked. Okay, they are picked deliberately with orthogonal relationship to demonstrate how it works in MTS. This is the data, so you need to multiply, and you see that it is down, up, down. So when you multiply, you get the same for 1, and when you multiply by -1, you get the reverse. So from A, you get first down, up, down, and then you multiply with -1, you get up, down, up. Okay. Similarly, from B and C, you have some transmissions in the AR. So from B it is like this, from C it is like this. And then they all are in the AR on the same frequencies. So they all are summed up. And this is the aggregation. Okay, they're just summed up together. And the total, you see that it goes to even to -3. So this is how you get. So they're calling it here composite signal. So at the receiving end, you have actually a composite signal like this, which is a summation of all these transmissions. Then how can you recover your own data? Okay, no worries. Say the receiver of A, he should just recover 1 - 1, right? You said this is the composite signal, and for A, this is the code. Down, up, down. Okay, so the code is the same every time you repeat. You have 2 bits, 2-bit information. So you repeat the code twice, down, above, down. Now you multiply. Okay, like before, you multiply. So here say -1, -1, next +1, -1, +1. Sorry. It's -1. It's +1. It's -1. Oh, okay. Okay. And then it is -1, +1, +1. Here it is +1, +1. It is +1. Here it is -3 and -1. It's +3. Oh, okay. It goes to +3. Similarly, here you get something. Then you do an average. Okay, like before, we do an average. What do you get? It's 1. Okay, so no worries. Although all people are transmitting, when you are doing when you're multiplying by your own code and you're doing an average, the effect of other users are just removed. Effect of other users are just removed. Ideally, you really get rid of other people. Okay. Yeah, definitely. It has to be. Okay. As I said, that the base station actually coordinates. The base station allocates a particular code, and he knows it. It allocates the code for both downlink and uplink. Okay. Okay. But practically, because of some errors in bit, it may not be completely 1. It may not be completely -1. But somehow still, it is not close to 0. Somewhat closer to the extreme level. So you can make a decision. Okay. In fact, it's an OVSF code. Okay. The same code is used for down. No, it doesn't have to be. But the assignment command, you don't always have also operation in both downlink and uplink. But there is a command, there is a message which allocates the code you should use in downlink or in uplink. Okay. So the downlink code is allocated and you know what it is. The base station will be using that code and you also know. In uplink, you are transmitting with that code and the base station already knows that. So both sides know the codes. Yeah. The base station allocates the codes. It's the base which allocates the code. Okay. Now, how the codes are generated? Okay. Well, of course, every bit sequence does not maintain this orthogonal relationship. And if I take a 4 bits long code, if I have a 4 bits number, say whatever it is, okay, 4 number, how many combinations are possible with 4 bits? 16. It is 16. Out of 16, there can be only a set of 4 which maintain orthogonal relationship. By code, I mean nothing but a bit sequence. Bit sequence means the sequence of zeros and ones. That's it. And there can be only 4 which maintain this orthogonal relationship. Okay, mathematically, and also mathematically, there are 2 ways to get this set. One of them is okay. Maybe write down here. 3GPP uses what is called OVSF, and 3GPP2 guys use what is called Walsh. OVSF code and Walsh code. Okay, and these are just the 2 ways possible. So they give you different set of codes. So out of 16, OVSF give you a particular set of selections. Walsh should give you a different set of selections, again 4. And they are also maintain orthogonal relationship equally well. So it's just your choice which one you should use. 3GPP and 3GPP2 guys went like Coke and Pepsi. Okay, they didn't take the same path. Maybe both options are equally good, but then go for the same options, and they were always competing with each other. So 3GPP2 guys first selected Welsh code. When 3GPP wanted, went for CDMA deployment, they selected OBSF. So we're going to explain how OBSF codes are generated. For say 2 bits long codes can be generated this way. You put say 1, 1, 1, and here at the right bottom you put -1. Okay, instead of zeros, today we are just using -1 for simplification in our understanding. Then you take the rows. So 1, 1 is a 2 bits long code. 1 minus 1 is another 2 bits long code. Then the code length can only be 2 to the power n, where n is an integer. And from this 2 bits long code, you can generate 4 bits long code. From 4 bits long code, you can generate 8 bits. From there, 16 bits on and on. Yeah. So from this 2 bits long codes, how do you generate? Using the same principle. First take 1, 1, the first code. Put here the same 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and then at the right bottom, you reverse. It's -1, -1. Then take the next one, 1, -1. Put the same 1, -1, 1, -1, 1, -1, and then reverse at the right bottom, -1, 1. Then take the rows. This is the first 4 bits long code, then second 4 bits long, third, fourth, 4 bits long code. Again, sure. Say the first you generate, how you generate? You take 1 and put 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, and then reverse at the right bottom position. You reverse, put -1. Then you pick the rows. This is 1, 1. This is, we have 2 rows here. 1, 1 will be 1 2 bits long code. 1 -1 is another 2 bits long code. So there can only be 2 such bits. I mean, with 2 bits, we have 4 combinations possible. Out of them, 2 would maintain orthogonal relationship. Okay, 1, 1, 1 -1. And then from there, you can generate 4 bits long codes. How is that? Take the first one, 1, 1. Put it here, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and then at the right bottom position, reverse. -1, -1. Then take the second one, 1, -1. Put the same 1, 1, 1, -1, 1, -1, 1, -1, and then the right bottom, reverse. -1, 1. Then take the rows. Okay. Pick the 4 rows, you get the 4 bits long. Similarly, from this 4, you can generate 8. And so this is an example of 16. So you can have at most 512 is allocated. Okay, is permitted in UMTS. So we have sorry. Yeah. Just it is an alternative approach. Okay, there is no difference in the code length or quality of correlation. Okay, no difference. They both are equally good. Okay, so now we know that we generate from every 2 bits long code, we can generate 2 4 bits long code. Similarly, for every 4 bits long code, we can generate 2 8 bits long code. From every 8 bits, we can generate 2 16 bits. So this one. Okay. So we actually have a tree for the OBSF codes. And spreading factor is here. This one is the length of the bit. So that is 2, 4 like this. Now, this slide is very important. Okay, let's try to get the point. Well, if we call these two as the children of this one, this is the parent and these two are children, then if you allocate the parent to someone, you cannot allocate the children. I mean, you want to maintain orthogonal relationship among all the users in the same cell. That's how 3G works. But if you already have allocated, say, this guy, say this one, okay, maybe this one, you already allocated. You cannot allocate this one. You can allocate this one, but not this one, because that's a children. That's a child of this guy. So these two don't maintain orthogonal relationship. I mean, the parent, these two maintain orthogonal relationship. This one also maintain orthogonal relationship of this one. But it does not maintain orthogonal relationship with its own blood, with its own child. Also, you cannot allocate its grandchildren. They don't maintain orthogonal relationship, not even great-grandchildren. So, if you have allocated a code, you cannot pick any code from its own branching, from its own descendants, from its own blood, okay? Because they don't maintain orthogonal relationship. Are you getting the point? So, if you are allocating, here blue, the OVSF tree is shown, and blue marking means that particular code has been allocated. So you have to stop right there. You can't further branching. No, none of its own children or grandchildren or great-grandchildren, okay, can be allocated. So right there is stop branching. Once you allocate, okay, you haven't allocated this guy. So you can further branch. You can allocate this guy, it's all right. But here you have allocated this guy. Okay, no, don't branch. You cannot allocate anybody else below that. So similarly, anywhere you branch, you allocate, you have to stop right there. Okay? So this is how it is done in the real network. Different people are allocated codes at different spreading factor levels. The code lengths are different among different people, which may look unfair, but that's how it is done. Okay? Now, I'm going to ask you something. Before that, let me tell you the procedure I have already finished explaining. In the case of EMTS, the bandwidth is 5 MHz fixed, and the Shannon's relationship, I said that it's closer and closer to the, the actual data rate takes closer to the data rate. Now, until 3G, until baseline 3G, the spectral efficiency was lower than 1, meaning that this R and W, okay, if you compare R and W, R was lower than W. From 3.5G onwards, R got higher than W. Spectral efficiency got higher than 1. If you think about the baseline, okay, in fact, it is still higher. I'm talking about the baseline comparison. Okay, even in this case, it actually goes higher. Okay, but I'm talking about the baseline relationship. Actually, it goes higher, but anyway, the very baseline comparison makes it lower. So here it is 5 MHz. So R is little lower, 3.84 megabit per second, but in this case they call it chips. CDMA guys, surprisingly, after spreading, call chips instead of bits. Okay, once you spread, the bits are called chips. So I'm writing down mega chips per second. Mega chips per second. By mega I mean 10 to the power 6. It's 3.84. So after spreading, you have a fixed rate of transmission. That is 3.84 into 10 to the power 6. Okay, bits or chip per second. So you take your data, multiply or spread, and then transmit. When you transmit, you have this fixed rate. Now you tell me, in this allocation, different people have been allocated different codes, okay, as you can see, at different spreading factors or code length. Who, among these different spreading factor users, who is more fortunate and who is less fortunate? Some people have spreading factors, say 4, but some people have spreading factor 32. So tell me, who is more fortunate here? Lower? Okay, anybody else? Someone said lower. Anybody else? Huh? It doesn't make any difference. Okay. Lower and no difference. So any other answer? I mean, the only answer left is higher. Anybody else? See, with the growth of the technology, we are going for some higher expectations, right? So if things go lower and no change, then what is the outcome of newer things, right? But he's correct. It's because lower spreading factor. You see, you have certain, go back to this slide. You have this 5 bits information, then you spread by spreading factor, and then you transmit. If you make this transmission rate fixed, if you hold it fixed, then when you multiply by a lower factor, your actual information will be higher, right? Your data rate is actually, this is the final rate, you divide it by a spreading factor, and that gives your original information bit. Information is first spread by a factor and then you transmit. So if you have a lower spreading factor, if it is only 4, then you get a higher number of your, you want to send your original information, not these codes. Okay? So, lower percent. Okay. Now, why the network uses different spreading factors? It's because, say, if I want to allocate 4 to everybody, since 4 is good, if you want to allocate spreading factor 4 to everybody, then how many cores are available there? Only 4. So only 4 people can be served at a time. Right? There are no other cores to allocate. So only 4 people can be served at a time. Whereas if you can go for 32, then you can support 32 people at a time. But that will lower the data rate for everybody. So the total data rate for the cell from the cell is fixed. You just allocate, or you have different kinds of apportionment. Okay. So, but how is it that you allocate, okay, somebody 32 lower and somebody, actually the application requirement is different. For voice calls, very low data rate, around 10 kbps is good enough. But when you're downloading a video file, you need high data rate. So people who are running data hungry applications, which require high data rate, will be allocated lower spreading factor. And voice calls or low applications, say web browsing, okay, for this kind of application, people will be allocated higher spreading factors. And typically for voice, spreading factor 128 is used. Sometimes 64 can be used, but usually the spreading factor 128 is used for voice. That is good enough. And for FTP transfer, it varies, but if 8 is allocated, then how you calculate the data rate? Divide 3.84 to the 10 into the 10 to the 6 by 8. That gives you the data rate, but actually is the number of symbols. CDMA EMTS uses 2 bits per symbol. It uses QPSK. Later we'll discuss that. The baseline CDMA, baseline EMTS has 2 bits per symbol. It uses QPSK. So you divide by the spring factor and then multiply by 2 to get the data in terms of bits per second. So it is symbol per second and then multiply by data. When you divide by spring factor, you get how many symbols you are transmitting. And multiply by 2, then you get how many bits you are transmitting. So it is 480 kilo symbols per second. When you multiply by 2, you get 960 kilobits per second. Okay? So in the cell, different positions are used at a time, okay, based on their requirement. And at the most, the spring factor can be 512 in downlink. Okay, in uplink it can be 256 at the moment. That's the highest limit permissible. Okay. Now it is so far explained how things are taken care of within the same cell. But the same 5 megahertz has to be used in the neighboring cells, in the adjacent cells. How is it taken care of? Okay, and some people know actually the part we have explained so far. Actually, not fully maybe, or with some misconceptions at some places. But I just see people who know CDMA to know how it is taken care of beyond the cell. Actually, there is another level of PN code uses, and that's called scrambling. So your data is it first goes through a process of spreading. After you do a spreading operation, you increase the data size. But then there will be another process before transmission, which is called scrambling. It differentiates among the neighboring cells. Well, another PN code is used after splitting operation. Another PN code is used, but these PN codes don't offer orthogonal relationship or perfect correlation. But the code used there is called gold code, which gives you pretty good correlation properties. It's selected because it offers pretty good, although not perfect, correlation properties. So you don't have any further luxury to increase the number of codes. You're already spreading, and that reduces your original information rate. So you cannot further increase. So scrambling does not increase the data size. What it does, so at every 10 milliseconds, the chips are taken. After spreading, it's called chips. And in 10 milliseconds, you get 30,400 chips. Okay? Because 3.84 mega per second. And then the PN code is taken. Okay. Well, we'll discuss first the downlink. Every base station is allocated in the neighborhood is allocated a unique gold code for use in the downlink. So it is called primary scrambling code. It's written somewhere. For downlink, okay, actually we wanna have a class test, and I already covered. Oh, it's already 1 o'clock. Sorry. Okay, sorry, I have to stop. Then the syllabus, our class test is due on next Wednesday. So it's the syllabus is up to spreading. Scrambling part we're leaving out. Okay? Yeah, up to this class. But it will be based on lecture note 14 and 15 along with the associated discussions in the class. But from this lecture 15, we are including only up to spreading. Scrambling is left out. Scrambling is not included. Okay? Question pattern, I don't know it. I usually prepare the question at the last night. Okay, I work on deadlines.